So thank you for having me. I wanted to say thank you to Farron and to the Dion family for sharing their intimate stories with us. They are, I know it takes courage to share your story, and we have another panel of experts up here who are living with LGMD, so I want to introduce all of you. If you just want to share your name and your subtype to the community, and then we'll get started.
Sure. My name is Patrick Motion. I come from New Hampshire. I am 2ER4. A lot of fun to be with, and a Scorpio.
My name is Andrea Lane. I am from North Carolina. I have LGMD2A/R1, and I'm a Gemini, baby.
I'm Carol Abraham from Twin Lakes, Wisconsin, and I have LGMD2A/R1, Calpain 3 related. And I guess I should add that I'm a Pisces.
So I'm Peter Furring. I'm from California, and I have LGMD2C, and I'm a Scorpio.
I'm Jane Lockwood. I'm from Charlotte, and I'm a Leo.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you for being here. And many of you participated in our ELPFDD not too long ago. And one of the things that, the main concerns that was expressed during that time by our LGMD community was the fear of becoming a burden to our loved ones. How has that impacted you and your family relationships? How does that make you feel? And please share how that has affected you emotionally. Whoever wants to start.
I can begin. As someone who is dependent on someone for basically nearly every activity in my life, all of my ADLs, everything that's very personal and intimate, it's very hard to be dependent on other people. And not a day goes by that I don't think of the burden that I am to my husband, although he assures me he loves me and it's not a burden. It's one of those things that you just cannot overlook. I go anywhere with my friends have to help me. And it's very hard. It's hard on self-esteem, and it's just one of those things that never disappears.
Can I?
Yeah.
I'll add to what Carol said is the other part of the burden is not knowing what the future holds. You know, once upon a time, all of us up here, we weren't a burden. And as time has gone by and muscle loss happens more frequently, things get more difficult. So now being a burden is a different definition than it was last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And the real fear is what's the burden going to look like in the future? Because as things start to go, you just become feeling more of a burden. So the self-esteem, definitely I echo Carol. But it's also thinking about what's going to happen.
Yeah. Does anybody want to add?
I can. So I'm, of course, the youngest person on this panel, being only 16, and I'm hopeful that I will be able to self-sustain to an extent, but I know always that my family will be there for me if I need them at any point in time. They'll help me. But I also want to, I'm hopeful for a cure for muscular dystrophy or even something to just stop progression to allow me to keep some of my independence throughout the rest of my life.
I think a lot of people have spoken about family, and we're fortunate. I'm in the same position that my family is very caring and loving and supports me always. I joke that I live with my 2 roommates, mom and dad. Met them 27 years ago in the hospital. Real love story. But they take care of me, and then I also think that it's really important to have open communication with your friends who, may not necessarily understand the progression of this or the ins and outs of the disease. And so I always try and be open with my friends, and they're open with me, and they're very honest about, if they're going to go on a beach trip or to the mountains or something, and it's something where the stairs doesn't have an elevator, or the house doesn't have an elevator, and there's too many stairs, then I've had discussions with them about, hey, I know that I can't go on this because it'll be too much, but I appreciate it if you let me know that you're going before. And I think that it's just important to have open communication so that you don't feel like you're always a burden on people and hurting people.
Yeah, I think I'll just add, I think it's hard because our culture, particularly in America, I think is very individualistic. So we really value independence, and that's what leads to these feelings of feeling like a burden for your loved ones. And so I think in living with this disease, I've tried to kind of deconstruct some of those thoughts and understand that my relationships with my friends or my family, like, it's going to feel different. And how can I try to have some reciprocity in those relationships, but know that it's going to be reciprocity in a different way. And I think in that way, maybe you start to feel less like a burden.
Thank you. That was excellent. So if a treatment was to become available that was to stop the progression of your disease, but did not necessarily improve your condition, would that be considered a success to you? And how would you feel about that? Some of you mentioned a little bit about that, but do you want to elaborate?
I can start. I think that would be a huge success because I currently can still use my arms and I can walk short distances. So I would appreciate being able to continue doing those things. And that would, in my opinion, be a trinormous success because I can be more individual and feel almost less like a burden, going back to the last question.
I am currently in the ML Bio trial, clinical trial for 2I. And if you were at the Lunch and Learn today, they talked about how that treatment has, it's slowing the progression, which is wonderful. And I feel like I've seen that. So I don't necessarily know if it's scientifically available, that data yet, but I feel like I can see a difference. And I think that that's something that has made a huge difference in my life.
It would be a dream come true if I could just stop this progression. I've had weakness progressing for over 56 years, and I'm running out of ways to adapt. It would be beyond belief if I knew that the progression would just end and I would have some stability.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the progressive nature is just what makes it so challenging because you're constantly having to adapt and seek out new resources, new tools, new equipment, everything that goes along with that. And so if you can just stop the progression and just be able to have an environment that works for you, obviously it's still challenges, but I definitely think that would be a success.
After 56 years, I can say I'm running out of ways to adapt. I'm running out of equipment. I need something to stop the progression.
I'll push the envelope further and say, too, that the longer you live with this, because I'm going on 40, I don't even remember, 40 years at least, I'm running out of patience, and I'm running out of nerve. Again, it would be a game changer because we could also then plan for the future. Not knowing what that looks like and what other services we're going to need, treatments that we're going to have to make available if it's more power equipment, that's the most terrifying part is the unknown. So if somebody could look me in the eye and say, this drug is going to keep you level for a while, that would be a game changer. Yeah, I don't think any of us are expecting that we're going to get up and walk. I don't think any of us really value that. I don't want to speak for everybody, but just stop it in its tracks, that would be wonderful.
That makes sense. So how hopeful are you? Tonight we've heard a lot of the word hope, right? So there was a big theme with our conference, Be the Hope for the Cure, right? And how hopeful are you that you'll see a successful treatment in the coming years? And how are you coping in the meantime while you're waiting for a successful treatment to be approved for LGMD, for your subtype?
I think that conferences like this are extremely important to get to see the science behind what's going on. My parents started the McCall-Lockwood Laboratory about 20 years ago, and we have had 2 therapies come out, a gene therapy and then the ML Bio trial, and seeing those progress over the years and to the point where it's finally at a clinical trial is really hopeful, and I think that that's something that I believe will definitely be maybe not available on the market in 10 years, but something that will be, the clinical trial will be progressing and we'll have a better further step towards a cure.
It's Peter.
I would say I'm hopeful, but I'm a little frustrated that there's been so many delays in treatment. But I am hopeful that there will be a treatment that will come sooner rather than later, And I think the way I cope with it is like I have to do things, I have to deal with it. It's a part of life, but it's something you just have to overcome.
For me, it's very exciting, the first time in my life to see so many treatments entering into clinical trials, and that there's hope like there's never been before in the LGMD community. But at the same time, it's so frustrating that, as an example, for my form of limb-girdle muscular dystrophy 2A, just sits in preclinical phase of a pipeline. I wish that there was a way that we could accelerate this process in some ways. I'm afraid that by the time something comes available, that I won't have enough healthy cell muscles to be able to treat. And that's the worst feeling possible, to think that maybe in my lifetime there could be a treatment and a cure, but then to be so far progressed that it wouldn't be available.
That's a tough one to follow.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't.
It's the truth.
Yeah, I know.
Do you want me to?
Go ahead, Pat.
No, listen, that's what we're up here for, right? Truth. And you want to hear some harsh words. I'll flip it the other way, though, and hope is this room. Hope is all the people that made this conference possible. Hope are the people that are working on this and have been working on it and dedicated their lives. Hope are the people that deal with the government. We'll just leave it at that. But I've been doing these kind of conferences for 20 years, and I've made friends that I have for life. And I tell everybody that doesn't understand, the silver lining of this is it's the best family that you never want to belong to. You know, the people I'm having dinner with, I just met recently, and I said, you know, it's very nice to be here and not have to talk about muscular dystrophy. I know that's the main concept, but we don't have to explain it. You don't have to say to somebody, oh, I had this, and then they say, oh, my aunt had MS, and you say, oh my God.
The worst.
But, right, yeah, we all know that. But, so, I mean, the hope comes from everybody in this room. And I share with Carol, you know, I just turned 50, and yeah, it's getting more frightening, but the other part of me thinks, all right, then maybe, you know, I help the people that I just saw in the video. I help the younger generation that has the coolest hair on the stage. We're gonna do that too. So it's a struggle every day between being very selfish, but also trying to be selfless and saying everything that I do, every natural history study, every time I'm poked, I'm prodded, blood work, I'm adding to the data and the pool of data that's needed because we're so rare. Yeah. All right.
You want to say something? No. You're not ready yet. Okay. Is there anything else anyone would like to add? Any other things? I'm out of questions, but you are welcome to add more, or if you want to just go eat your dinner, we can do that too.
I think going off of the coping skills and trying to look at things positively, I know I went and saw Sammy in the Teen Talk earlier, Sammy in Brooklyn, and it made me think about how when I applied to colleges, everybody's always like, oh, what is my college essay going to be? Well, this is your college essay. It's really easy. So just flip it. You have a college essay. So, and siblings, that goes for you too. So
yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Well, thank you so much for sharing your stories. And it is not easy to get up here and share some of your most intimate fears and challenges, but also your hopes. And we all do have a ton of hope, but we also all share the same resounding story that, you know, things can't happen fast enough for our community. And we are grateful that you're all here to help us, you know, have hope. And we'll take some of this with us for sure.
We're also extremely, extremely grateful for the clinicians and the researchers who know the urgency of our community. And we know that you're working hard, and we are extremely grateful for all the work that you are putting into our community.
I'll just end with stay loud and stay active and keep the network going, keep everything going on social media. We all have to crowdsource problems. We all have to speak together with each other more. Speak Foundation, see what I did there? But everybody, we have to continue to work together. So we'll be here all weekend. Please tip the waitstaff. Come see us whenever you want. Thank you for having us up here.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll lead the way down.
Thank you.